Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the IP Fighters podcast. My name is Ryan Deers, and today I'm joined by Nathaniel Cox, Ryan McGurgan, Britt Minnell, Sean Penfield, and Anthony Lasanti. Today we will be discussing the ongoing court case, Oracle v. Google, and its implications on intellectual property law.
When an author writes a book or a musician produces a music video, copyright protections safeguard the producer from unauthorized use of their content. However, applying these copyright protections to computer programming remains an area of legal ambiguity. The breadth of copyright protection was flexed in the Oracle v. Google case, where Google allegedly reverse-engineered and then emulated large portions of Java to create their own proprietary language.
Specifically, Google emulated thousands of lines of code from Java's API, or an application programming interface, which enables data to be exchanged between different software platforms. For example, when you create a new social media account, the service might use your contact book on your phone to search for other users on the website. In this case, an API would be used to import your contacts to cross-reference for other users of the service. Google's unauthorized recreation of Java's API in the source code of the Android operating system spurred a series of lawsuits between Oracle and Google, a legal issue that is ongoing to this day. Firstly, we will cover the initial legal issue of Google's alleged infringement on Oracle's copyright. Then we will discuss the appeal process, which led to a debate over whether Google was protected by the fair use doctrine. The final section will deal with the outcome and implications, specifically how the findings affect developers today.
In 2010, Oracle filed a lawsuit against Google for infringing on 7 Java patents and its copyrights. When the case was taken to court in 2012, the court ruled that APIs cannot be copyrighted because there is only one way to declare a given method functionality, so everyone must write that specific line of code in the same way.
Oracle appealed, and in 2014, the U.S. Court of Appeals was tasked with determining if Oracle's copyright was valid. During the case, Google did not dispute that they had copied large portions of the Java APIs to create Android. Ultimately, the court found that Oracle's copyright over the Java APIs was valid, but did not rule on whether Google committed copyright infringement, leaving this to the decision of a future court.
The Circuit Court's ruling in 2014 completely changed the Oracle vs. Google discussion because the copyrightability of the Java APIs was no longer in question. Instead, the issue moving forward was if Google's use of the Java APIs was protected by a fair use defense.
So, what is the fair use doctrine, and how could Google use this as a defense? Fair use is an umbrella of defenses against copyright infringement, protecting unauthorized use of a copyrighted work for transformative purposes like criticism, news reporting, education, and parodies.
In October of 2014, Google filed a petition to the U.S. Supreme Court to reverse the district court's decision about the Java APIs. However, the petition was denied, and the decision was deferred back to the appellate court's ruling on the matter.
After the Supreme Court refused the petition, a federal district court reviewed the case in April of 2016, focusing on Google's fair use argument. During the trial, Oracle argued that Google copied 11,500 lines of code when developing the Android OS in order to take a shortcut at Oracle's expense. Google didn't dispute their replication of the Java APIs, but countered by claiming that the Java language had always been, quote, free and open to use. Following the case, the jury unanimously decided that Google's use of the APIs constituted fair use under copyright law.
Oracle hasn't gone down without a fight, arguing they're, quote, entitled to a new trial because the district court repeatedly undermined Oracle's case, end quote. After this controversial decision, Oracle petitioned to have their case reheard by the U.S. District Court. Oracle is challenging the decision because the district court, quote, barred all evidence of Google's competition in any other market other than smartphones and tablets, and that this evidence would have eviscerated Google's theory of transformative use, the core of its defense, end quote.
The open-ended decision from the 2014 case set a groundbreaking precedent for programmers. On one hand, being able to copyright programming scripts can protect coders from unauthorized use of their property. However, these protections can be problematic because there are a limited number of ways to utilize programming functions, causing an inherent lack of distinctiveness between code. In other words, two coders tasked with developing a necessary website feature for two completely different companies could produce virtually identical scripts simply because there are very few ways to programmatically achieve that functionality.
Furthermore, fair use is highly fact-sensitive and subjective. A jury weighs multiple factors, and it's difficult to know in advance whether any fair use defense will succeed. The implications of this case could be disastrous. An aspiring developer could invent a new product with similar-looking code to a Java API. If Oracle took him to court and a fair use defense failed, his innovative efforts could be squelched, giving Oracle a complete monopoly.
According to Oracle's Java installer, 3 billion devices use Java worldwide. Every company with software utilizing these APIs could be at risk of arbitrary lawsuits from Oracle on infringement. Developers rely on APIs as an industry standard. Although Google's usage of the APIs was considered protected, fair use defenses are considered on a case-to-case basis. This means when similar cases questioning fair use are brought into the jury in the future, their outcome could change the way the developers code forever. As if on cue, the Court of Appeals decided to reverse the Federal District Court's decision that Google's use of Oracle's API was fair use. If the case stands, Oracle is seeking damages of up to $8.8 billion, and it will fundamentally change how programmers create new APIs. Google is expected to petition to the Supreme Court to hear the case, but the last time a member of this lawsuit petitioned the Supreme Court, it was not successful.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this week's IP Fighters podcast. Join us next week for our episode where we will discuss the criminality of cyber squatting.